Hey, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri Appellate Attorney. I'm retired, and this is not legal advice. Everything I say is simply commenting on the law. And this will be what we're commenting on today. This is the Komoroski case, and I want to talk about doing the right thing after having done the wrong thing. But first, I want to acknowledge my inherent bias in this case. I am the adult son of an alcoholic. My mother had such a severe drinking problem that when she was arrested for DUI in California when I was in sixth grade, she left me alone at home to fend for myself for more than a week. Growing up with an alcoholic has some benefits and some detriments. The benefits are that you learn to become self sufficient, you learn to become grateful for the kindness of others, and you learn that no matter what promise they make, you can't count on it. That isn't because they don't want you to count on it, because when they make the promise, they absolutely believe they can uphold it. But in most cases, because of the addiction that they suffer from, they just can't. My mother missed all of the key events in my life except for my law school graduation. She wasn't there when her grandchildren were born. Alcohol and tobacco were her addictions, and at the end of her life, she beat them both, but not before both had long term effects not only on her, but on her children. So, what Komoroski did is something that, but for the grace of the loving God, my mother could easily have done when she was stopped by the California Highway Patrol going the wrong way up an exit ramp. Now, I'm not unbiased, I'm the furthest thing from unbiased, but I do want to point out that Jesse Komoroski did the right thing today in pleading guilty. So here's how that all came about. First of all, in the first part or opening part of this, she and her lawyer had to appear before the judge and talk a little bit about what exactly they were doing. Let's
Very
listen.
much. Are there any recommendations and negotiations, Mr. Finch?
No, Your Honor.
And does Ms. Komoroski have any record?
No criminal record, Your Honor.
Have you explained to your client, ma'am, who's
Do you want to sit at the podium, or do you rather have it?
which is better for you? I mean, no. Which is better? Podium and where's the podium? The podium's closer. It's probably easier for the full court to hear everything and record everything. Mr. Williams, have you explained to your client the charge, the punishment, her rights?
I have.
Do you believe she understands the charges, the punishment, her rights?
I do, Your Honor.
Does she wish to plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Do you agree with that decision?
I do, Your Honor.
Has she ever been evaluated to determine her competency?
She has not, Your Honor.
Have you explained to her the violent and serious classification?
I have, Your Honor.
And have you also explained to her the collateral consequences of these offenses, that being the suspension of her driver's license or the revocation of her driver's license, as well as the requirement of any interlock devices?
We have, Your Honor, but just briefly. We have, Your Honor.
Ma'am, raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth? That's right. You can put your right hand down. We'll need you to speak a little more loudly for me, please. State your full name for the record.
Jamie Lee Komoroski,
How old are you?
27 years old.
What was the last grade you finished?
I have a bachelor's degree
In what discipline?
um, science, and I have a bachelor in science and business administration.
And where did you get that degree?
Coastal Carolina University.
And how long ago was that?
I graduated
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I graduated in 2020, so
That's okay. The year is fine. That's what I needed. Thank you. Are you married?
no,
Do you have any children?
no,
Are you employed?
not currently, but
What was your last job?
I was working for, I was doing digital marketing, and I was also doing web design.
And how long were you employed in that capacity?
Web design for about 2 months, digital marketing for about 3.
Now we move on to her actual plea, where she pleads guilty to the crimes that she was charged with. And you'll notice that she's pleading guilty without any kind of recommendation on the part of the prosecution. The prosecution did not make a deal with her. She just came in and did the right thing and pleaded guilty.
On the offense of felony DUI, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Do you understand the minimum is 1 year, the maximum is 25 years, and a minimum fine of $10,100 and a maximum fine of $25,100?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that it's classified as violent and serious?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that under South Carolina law that subjects you to enhanced penalties?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that if you receive 2 additional serious offenses, you could face life without parole?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may have discussed parole or parole eligibility with your lawyer or with others, but until you're sentenced, no one can tell you when, if ever, you would be eligible for parole or under what conditions. You should assume that you will serve any time that you're sentenced to day for day. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
On 2 counts of felony DUI, great bodily injury, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Do you understand that the minimum is 30 days and the maximum is 15 years?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that the maximum fine is a minimum of $5,100 and a maximum of $10,100?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand, and I'll go over that later, I apologize, I'll come back later. As a reckless homicide, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Do you understand the maximum penalty is 10 years and or a minimum fine of $1,000 and a maximum fine of $5,000?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that on the reckless homicide that your license will be revoked for 5 years?
Yes, Your
Do you
Honor.
understand the court has no control over that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that on the felony DUI with great bodily injury that your license will likewise be suspended?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that no probation or can be given on those offenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you also understand that you will be required to have an ignition interlock device on your car?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you also understand that likewise we have no control over those statutory mandated conditions.
Yes.
After, essentially fessing up to the things that she did, the prosecution had their opportunity to get up and put on the record the facts, the truly horrible facts of this accident. I'm not going to play all of them, but I want you to hear a little bit about how bad this really was.
The investigation revealed that in an hour and a half prior to the collision, the defendant had consumed 6 alcoholic drinks. However, instead of leaving the island via Center Street toward Folly Road and James Island, the defendant headed eastbound on East Ashley as well, following the victim's LSD, albeit the LSD would have been significantly further up the road. While on East Ashley, the defendant traveled well over the island-wide speed limit of 25 miles an hour as she closed on the LSD. Data from the EDR, electronic data recorder, or event data recorder from the vehicle in Toyota, showed the defendant was traveling 61.5 miles an hour, 4.65 seconds prior to crashing into the LSD. 4 seconds later, at 0.65 seconds prior to impact, the EDR showed the defendant had increased to 65.9 miles an hour. The same data reflects the brakes were applied half a second later, 0.15 seconds before impact. During the time of travel eastbound on East Ashley, the onboard system of the defendant's vehicle captured black and white snapshots of the vehicle as it weaved across the road, off to the right, and over the center line, left, and then back into the right lane as it closed in on the LSD. At approximately 10:15 p.m., the 1200 block of East Ashley Avenue, Ms. Komoroski crashed into the LSD. Crash,
10 p.m.
10:15 p.m.
10
Yes, ma'am. Crash reconstruction calculations estimate the defendant was traveling approximately 63 miles an hour at impact, and the LSD was traveling approximately 25 miles an hour. Samantha Miller Hutchinson was ejected from the rear-facing seat onto the hood of the Toyota. Aric Hutchinson was ejected over the vehicle, landing near the point of impact. Benjamin Garrett was ejected from the vehicle onto the roadway, Brogan here was ejected from the right side of the LSD into nearby ground cover. Brogan suffered injuries to his knees. Benjamin suffered severe head injury, injury to his wrist, which was treated in the burn unit at WSC, and injuries to his right hip and lower back. Ben will require further surgeries to address his other injuries, including a right hip replacement, a fusion of the right SI joint, possible fusion of his neck and back vertebrae, and surgery to address arthritis in his affected joints. Aric suffered 2 broken legs, one requiring surgical intervention to repair, a fractured facial bones, fractured vertebrae, also necessitating surgery, brain bleeds, numerous lacerations over his body. Additionally, his left eye was damaged, and prognosis regarding his vision will develop over time. He necessitated surgery to fix the lid to that left eye, enabling it to close. He currently suffers double vision. Future surgery will be assessed. Samantha Miller Hutchinson died from blunt force trauma to her head and neck. Citizens that were staying or living in the area of the crash immediately responded to the site and called 911. Among those who responded were 2 nurses that happened to be staying nearby. They, along with others, began triaging the victims. Neither detected any pulse from Smith.
So following the facts, the next thing that happened was the people who, having been a guilty plea already, the people who had a victim impact statement to make made that victim impact statement. Now, I'm not going to play those either. You can find them online if you want. But when I listened to those, it felt like emotional vampirism. You know, I don't want to feed off of the pain or hurt of someone else. That is a truly disgusting feeling to me. And I know those people were deeply injured. One of them said that he hated Ms. Komoroski. And I can understand that feeling. But I do hope that at some point he reaches forgiveness, because when you forgive someone, you release a prisoner. Only later do you realize that you were the prisoner. So I'm praying for him that he might at some point find it in his heart to let her transgressions go. I don't think that would be easy. It certainly wouldn't be easy for me, but I would certainly try to make the effort. Then, at the end of all that, Ms. Komoroski got her sentence. Before she got her sentence, she made this long emotional plea about how she realized she'd done bad things. Now she wanted to devote her life to helping people overcome their addictions. She's very much into Alcoholics Anonymous. The recidivism statistics, and you can look these up online, the recidivism statistics for alcoholics at the 3-year and 16-year mark are terrible. There are people who just can't kick these kinds of addictive disorders. And so one of the things that the judge mentioned was having to install an ignition interlock, and I think that's wise. I think that's actually required by statute in the state of South Carolina. So here is the sentence part.
Very intently to everything that has been presented to the court, and I have taken into consideration the mitigation that has been presented. And based on what has been presented to the court, I find the following appropriate in the nature of sentencing. On the offense of reckless driving, reckless homicide, which is 2023 GS 103895, you're sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 10 years and $5,000, provided upon the service of 10 years. On both counts of felony DUI, great bodily injury, you're sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 15 years and $5,100, provided upon the service of 15 years. And on the offense of felony DUI with death, you're sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 25 years and $10,100, provided upon the service of 25 years. These sentences are concurrent with one another. You get credit pursuant to 241340 if that becomes applicable. And I think it is appropriate, and I queried Mr. Finch for a particular reason. It was not random. Our state legislature, in their infinite wisdom, amended 241340 to allow for time spent on monitored house arrest. And it was contemplated that a person get credit when they are basically in jail at home. And based on how Ms. Komoroski's home detention was structured, she was in jail, but for being at home. And I think it is appropriate that she receive credit for any time served on monitored house arrest or home detention. Those terms, in my mind, are interchangeable. From the period of 3/1/2024 through the present, and we'll calculate that and place it on her sentencing sheets. Again, these sentences are concurrent. I've ordered the ATU if it is available to her, and she will get credit for any time served pursuant to 24/13/40. Thank you all for your time and your attention today. Have a good
Now,
afternoon.
Ms. Komoroski is essentially sentenced to 25 years in prison. Although each one of those had increasingly more severe sentences, the judge ran them concurrently. So instead of stacking them end to end so that it's, a 70-year sentence, the judge stacked them on top of one another so that she has a 25-year sentence. Whether she actually becomes eligible for parole in a reasonable period of time, I don't know. She might very well get parole after 50% of her sentence is served, or 60. I haven't researched that. But I do think that at some point, even though she did a horrible thing, she tried to do the right thing at the end and reduce the pain on these people who came in to testify as to their impact. It is, without a doubt, having put people up on the stand after horrible accidents caused by other people and had them discuss the pain and agony that they have gone through, both physical injuries and emotional injuries. Going through trial for a victim is easily as difficult as it is for someone who's on trial or who is accused of negligence, or in this case, vehicular homicide, because they have to relive what happened. It may be the last time they have to relive it, but they have to relive it for that event. And it is emotionally taxing. So if you have the opportunity and you feel like a charitable person today, it would be a really lovely thing to say prayers and wish good things for the victims in this case and for the families of the deceased victim in this case, because they lost a great deal and they need to be remembered in people's prayers. In addition to that, I think it's appropriate to say a prayer for Jamie Komoroski, because Ms. Komoroski has got a long time ahead to think about what she did, as she should have. I'm not mitigating her blame at all in this, but she's got a long, hard road to hoe, and she's going to go in a place where a lot of the people don't have Bachelor of Science degrees, and where she might very well be treated very badly. So it might be a really good thing, a really charitable thing, if you're that kind of person and you feel compelled to say a little prayer for him. That'd be a really kind thing to do. And I always ask you to do something kind. So that's what I have for you tonight. Thank you so much for listening. And if you would, drop a comment down below. Tell me what you think about this case, or you can email me at the address above. Like, share, subscribe, all those things every YouTuber asks you to do. And then come on back down here tomorrow. Join me at the beach. We'll talk about something else. I shouldn't have to say this, but you don't seek legal advice from a guy down at the beach. You seek it from a lawyer in a lawyer's office, where there are people running around in suits and secretaries and all kinds of other people. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm a retired attorney at this point, and although I retain my license to practice in the state of Missouri, I am not here dispensing legal advice. I'm just offering general content on the law. And here are some videos that YouTube thinks you may enjoy.